Hey everyone, I'm Larry Chen. I'm a car culture and automotive photographer. I've been very lucky to be able to work with Ken Block for many years, including on the set of Gymkhana 7, which happened in Los Angeles. This is, I would say, probably one of my most iconic shots of Ken. This project with the Hoonigan honestly really changed the game in terms of cars and car culture. I've been shooting cars for many years up until that point, but I never had a chance to see a car move the way this car moved. The way it destroyed the tires, it was just so violent, but it was so unique and it was very, very Ken. This shot we did on the 4th Street Bridge. It was just such a casual moment. You know, a lot of times when we're doing these filming events, there's all these time periods in between shots that Ken would just hang around the car. We would joke around, have fun, just enjoy ourselves. So a lot of times I would just see a shot in my head and I would just ask him to stand next to the car, do a little jump or whatever, show me what they need to promote at that time. I would just do my thing, get my shots and get out of there. My whole goal being on the set of these Gymkhana films and anytime they did big productions was to get the still version of what they were shooting, but also to show my interpretation of what I think the shot should look like if it was just captured in one frame. We're now standing in front of what I think is my most iconic shot that I've shot so far in my career. It's from Climbkhana with the Hoonigan version 2. So this is a panoramic shot. This is not just one photo. The actual single frame is about this big. So I was standing on the side of the mountain with Brian Scotto and also one filmer. And this was Ken's 3rd attempt at this shot. First time he came around, didn't really come out too much sideways. Second time, spun out, dipped a tire into the dirt, and we're like, this is crazy. He's insane for doing this. Third time, obviously, that's when I shot this photo. As it was happening, the process in my head was, look, I just gotta keep shooting. I gotta keep shooting because the clouds were coming in and out, the light was changing, and I wanted to make this iconic. I wanted to make this a panorama. So what you're looking at is actually 20 photos stitched together. So as the light was changing, as we were waiting for Ken, we were on radio with him and we were just timing it. Okay, when is he gonna come by? When is he gonna come by? I'm just tiling this scene over and over and over again. Keep tiling until he came around the corner. That's when I focused on him. And then I just inserted that one frame into this scene. But I'm also not lying to the viewer. I'm telling the truth about the scene because as you can see, I didn't Photoshop out this cameraman. So this is our friend, Brandon Cotto, and I just left the scene the way it is. And this is just what it looked like that day. So just such an iconic shot. With a shot like this and many of the shots that I've done with Ken, it's amazing how much reach these photos have over the years. You know, whether it be used on thumbnail or people are sharing it or in magazines or exhibits like this, I can confidently say that my photos have reached hundreds of millions of people, maybe more, maybe 1 billion people from working with individuals like Ken, because he just gave us a bigger platform, like a reason to push so hard and to perform at our highest level to show the beauty and the absolute destruction and how incredible these things really were. And of course, with him behind the wheel, anything can happen. It was something else. I never intended to be in front of camera, ever. I'm a photographer, I'm very introverted. Just like Ken was, I just really wanted to make pictures. I wanted to tell stories. I loved cars, I love racing, but I never intended to be in front of the camera. There was just this certain time period where it made sense for me to show people how I made these pictures. And then gradually and gradually, more and more, I just appeared in front of camera. It's still something that I enjoy doing. It's not something that I prefer to do because I prefer to actually create the content. But with that said, I'm also really appreciative of the doors it's opened and how many more things we're able to do because we have this voice now to promote the culture that we love. The nice thing for me is that when I want to be on and I want to play that character and I want to meet fans and I want to inspire people, I can do that. You know, if I go to a car event, if I go to a race, if I go to Pikes Peak, if I go to Goodwood Festival of Speed, SEMA Show, Tokyo Auto Salon, I go to these places where our people are, then I can embrace the culture. And I can meet fans one-on-one. It's very important for me to have that one-on-one interaction. I actually learned a lot of that from Ken. Because a lot of times when I'm meeting these individuals, it may be the only time I meet them for the rest of their life. And I always want to make a good impression. With that said, I can also disappear, right? So if I'm in the crowd in any normal public setting, I just am myself, you know? So I really, really love the community that I'm a part of, and they have embraced me and what I have to offer for so many years. I've been shooting for over 20 years now, and I just want to continue doing so. This picture is fun for me because my buddy Mike Blaybeck shot this, and Ken really embraced us creators so much. Like, it wasn't just me on set shooting these iconic moments, right? This is Gymkhana 7, Streets of Los Angeles, Randy's Donuts. There's multiple angles, and my favorite part about this shot is that I'm actually in the picture. I'm there getting a different angle on the same action, because a lot of the times, a good example is like the Pikes Peak shot. These moments happen one time, and this only happened one time. After he did this donut, he came off the curb and broke the drive shaft, and the drive shaft is right there at the anchor care wall. So these moments just don't last, you know, maybe just a couple seconds, and you only have one opportunity to create the best content you can from him just pushing these vehicles to the absolute limit. This poster from Gymkhana 4 means a lot to me. It's very important because Gymkhana 4 was the first major production that I worked with Ken. I've had a chance to photograph him at X Games. I've had a chance to photograph him at different rally events that he was driving in, but I never had a chance to be on a giant Hollywood set. And this actually was that, right? So this was filmed at Universal Studios in the back lot. And this poster was created from pretty much all of my photos, right? Him busting through the wall, all the gorilla stuff, all the dancers. And the actual video had my photos. So this was my first time where my photos were used in a video, in a production, as a part of the whole package. it felt so good because it felt like I just contributed to this grand thing. And it was also really cool to see how they made these things, right? So from then on, I was so lucky to be able to follow Ken and his adventures all over the world. But this is pretty much where it started. And one thing that I really like to talk about is that when I first got on set, Ken saw me, you know, taking pictures on set, taking pictures of him, and he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you. Do you watch our videos?" Like he was super humble, you know, and obviously I watched his videos. I was such a huge fan. I loved everything he did. I was very fortunate to be able to photograph him, you know, even before that. And then of course, many, many years after this. I look at this photo and it reminds me of the very difficult time we had filming Electrikhana 1. It was in Las Vegas, right? So you see in the film, all the streets are empty at night, and it was because we flipped our schedule completely upside down, right? So we shot essentially from 7 to 7, right? 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and then daytime was our nighttime. It was so difficult. I really pushed myself physically and mentally to create the best imagery possible to promote this thing. And this vehicle in general, this is from Electrikhana 2 in Mexico City. It really means a lot to me because this was pretty much the last really big production that I worked with Ken. And yeah, these photos, just, I look at them and I get reminded of so many things, right? I get reminded of what it was like to be on set, what it was like to be there in that moment, and also how much of an impact Ken has made on all of us. What's interesting about this exhibit is that the cars, all of these from such a vast era of Ken's career, like a lot of these cars have never met each other, right? So they've never been in the same room. And it's just so cool to see the different vehicles from different generations. Also, it's really cool to see a lot of the memorabilia that they had at the Hoonigan Racing headquarters that were just stored away. And they brought them out for public viewing for the very first time. These iconic pieces that you see in the videos, in Gymkhana, in Climbkhana, they're here on display. And you would just never be able to see them. It's just so cool to see the Ain't Care wall. They moved the entire wall from Hoonigan Racing to here, and it's just such a great display of what Ken loved. If you guys want to see this exhibit in person, I urge you to come to the Petersen Museum. This is such a car culture destination. I tell everybody if they want to visit Los Angeles and they're into cars, they have to come here. This closes October 5th, so you have time to come check out the cars, check out the memorabilia and my photographs. It's just really amazing to see everything all put together here. I remember the day that I laid eyes on the Hoonigan for the first time, not far from here, when the livery was just getting put on. Some body panels were still off of it, and I had a chance to watch Ken get in it for the very first time with body panels and do some donuts on the streets of LA. So iconic. Come here and check it out for yourself.